Ready?
Yeah. Hey, P2, do you want to hear some trivia?
Oh, mate, I love a good game of trivia.
Guess what happens when a chook and two pelicans get together?
What's that, mate?
A clucking good time. That's right, you pelicans. The wobbly chook has jumped on board, keeping the bird presence strong. Whether you like a pale ale, brown ale, IPA, or a lager, the wobbly chook has you catered. Crafted from Yamba's finest chooks.
Better still, Mick, how do we get some wobbly chook?
That's easy, P2. Jump online at www.wobblychookbrewingco.com or pop in to 26 Cole Street in the heart of Yamba.
And have a clucking good time.
Cluck out.
Cuckoo! Always remember, don't be a mud gudgeon and drink responsibly.
Welcome back to another episode of the Two Pelicans Podcast. So you could have just missed that.
G'day, you pelicans.
Here he was. You were sort of hung up on his
Go and have a good time with them a bit later on.
Pelicans landing in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Two Pelicans Podcast. I am Joey.
I'm Mick, and we are the Two Pelicans.
That's right, Mick, and we're here with a couple of very important jobs each and every week. But the main things are we're here to get you weapons, you legends, you pelicans through that work week with a big old smile on your dial. And at the same time, mate, we're making fishing great once again.
That's right. One day at a time, one cast at a time, one podcast at a time. And look, we're up to 25.
Episode 25, the half century. That's worth a bit of
There we go.
No, hang on, that's not a half century. That's a quarter century.
That's a quarter century, but still more than probably what the opening test side of Australia's seen over the last 4 days.
Which I'm sure we'll make a little bit of a mention in our news and sports segment first up. But welcome back to all our returning listeners. Here we are, the Two Pelicans Podcast. Before we jump into today's podcast, mate, we'll address a little bit of an elephant in the room. Last week we announced that we were not going to continue on our Patreon.
Yep.
For now, and I do apologise to those people that sort of went to look for it and it wasn't there. Basically, there's no way of me contacting each individual person on the back end. We sort of don't have that in Patreon.
And we assume that there would have been notification to say that your subscription has stopped.
Yeah. So I seized everything on our end and
Yep.
the payments were seized. So we just assumed that you would have been notified, but apparently not. So anyway, we're going to draw in the next couple, probably this week, we're going to draw the competition for that. We're going to get some goodies out to you, weapons. But huge shout out to everyone that supported us yet again over on all the other audio formats. But mate, how was your weekend? What have you been up to?
Mate, hectic, eh? Like, pretty exciting on the weekend. I got to break in the Yamaha, so
Very good.
Look, Alex and I from Yamaha went out and sort of mucked around with it a little bit on the Friday afternoon, and then Saturday was a boating day, and I did learn something about this. And what it is I don't think I could drive a boat around all day and not fish.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's terrible.
Now you know how it feels to be a charter operator.
I stopped for a couple of quick fishes and got a couple of fish here and there, but look, I had to put hours on it, you know what I mean? I had to go through, there's a bit of a break-in process. I'm pretty sure most people are aware of that sort of stuff, but I think I end up with 8 hours at the end of it there, so pretty much nearly got it done, but it's over getting its new skin put on it, so it's getting a wrap done there at Spectrum Signs in Yamba, so shout out to them. They've designed and redesigned and made a few tweaks along the way, so that's been really, really good.
Unreal.
Yeah, and shirts turned up.
Shirts turned up. I'm looking at
shirts.
Looking at one here now. They look very fancy, mate. The big casino outdoors front and centre there. I like that. It's very nice.
Yeah, front and centre.
Now, you might throw a picture up over on our socials, mate,
Definitely
of that. How can people get behind, throw some port behind?
Oh, look, it's actually been a little bit overwhelming. I've actually had to say, sorry, guys, I'm out of that size already. So we end up getting 40-odd shirts, and I really don't have that many left.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
So, but yeah, look, if you are interested, look, drop us a line. Even drop us a line on the Pelican Podcast, and look, I've still got a few smaller sizes left, but anything over XL's definitely gone. And I don't even know if I've got many XLs left. So, anyhow, let us know. But look, shout out to Andrew from Estuary Clothing Co. He went into bat for me and got that done for me. And look, they're looking pretty smick, and yeah, pretty happy with them. So yeah,
That's the power of the podcast world, mate.
That's
We mentioned on here, and Andrew messaged me, and then got him in contact with you, and next thing you know, you got a big box full of shirts there.
Yeah,
so
that's
everyone's
right.
happy, and that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it worked out well, and yeah, hopefully we can do that with a few other businesses along the way, and end our journey on this podcast.
100%, mate.
Hmm.
What else has been happening?
Oh, look, I had a bit of fun also with the Garmin setup. Like, it's pretty cool. On at a later stage, I'll put something up on my socials around just tacking everything in, working with each other. So in this sort of situation, having it all set up with the Yamaha motor. So a CLE, I think it's a CLE 5, is like a gauge that you can get for your Yamaha motor. It's fully electronic. It's pretty whiz, but pretty much is that screen that just goes onto your Garmin sounder. It's great.
Unreal.
Yeah. So looks flash. Got a whole heap of screens to choose from. Some new screens that I haven't really used before with sounders. So can't wait to utilise that and get amongst it.
Unreal, mate.
What have you been up to?
Yeah, pretty busy week again. Just trying to pump out some stuff before Chrissy. Got a couple of orders out last week. Couple of good orders. I've got 2 orders there. I'll finish off tonight after we finish recording, and they can go out tomorrow. Then got a few more left before Chrissy. But over the weekend, my young bloke turned 8. So big happy birthday to him. So we did everything sort of birthday over the weekend. Had a bit of a just a pretty chilled weekend, to be honest. Headed up to the Gold Coast. Avoided all the schoolies, which was good, and hung out at Time Zone for a couple of hours. And went out to lunch, which I'll probably touch on a little bit there later on. But it was just a good all round weekend, and I'm in Christmas light mode now. Anyone that knows me or my wife knows that she loves the Christmas lights in our house. Is usually lit up like the Grizzles. So started that yesterday and spent another couple of hours in the tree this afternoon.
Righto. So in the next week or two, I'm before we come into the shop, I might do a drive-by.
Yeah, I think so. That we'll light them up on Sunday once everything's plugged in. We can't light them up till the 1st. That's just tradition. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
We don't light them up until the 1st, but it takes me like a good week to do everything.
It's funny you should mention that because we have a tradition in our family, and this year my wife broke it.
Not the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
No, she's done it early.
Yeah, no. So the tradition was that my birthday's on the 4th of December. It can only go up after that. And I know, to keep the young fella happy, I don't really know what happened, but I come home and the Christmas tree was up. So,
someone's getting a lump of coal for Christmas.
That's it.
But no, mate, that was a pretty good all round weekend. Why don't we get into a bit of sport news? To be honest, mate, I haven't got a lot on the news front. Nothing really overly exciting's happened. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. There's a little bit of sport. I think we can.
Look, there's not much really happening in the fishing scene, and look, other than the Bream guys go down to battle over the next few days down at Lake Macquarie from memory. So. So that'll be interesting to see who comes out on top there. It's Lake Macquarie is a real funny fishery, I think. Like, it's a bit different.
I think this year the bridge where it's been won a few years is also out of bounds.
And look, I personally, from my personal point of view, is I think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think that particular area owns a lot of fishing or looking for cockle beds, but also a lot of pontoon fishing, boat hole fishing.
Yeah.
There's a whole range of methods that you can do. There's still structure, there's still rock walls around within the place. So I think and taking it out too, like, this is I'll probably get mud gudgeon for this, but I think that bridge there being so small, you know, like if it's the Harwood Bridge or something like that, where you've got about 15 pylons to muck around and play with, and don't get me wrong, there's some good ones and then there's not so good ones, but I think with that one, you've only got 3 or 4, you've got a narrow channel. I don't know if you get in the way there a bit. You know what I mean? Like, it sort of it takes the competitive out of it. So.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure the 100% reasoning behind why that was there, but that could be a question for Mr. Morgan down the track, I dare say.
Yeah, anyhow, it is what it is. But
it is what it is. Yeah, very good. Do you want to talk about the sport, mate? I know you're a very passionate cricket fan.
Yeah, look, you know, watching that cricket there the other day, it was pretty heartbreaking to watch, to be honest. That was pretty ordinary. India just come off like a whitewash by New Zealand, from memory, over in India.
Yeah.
So if India have come over and done that to us, I think our test side's in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
A world of hurt. And I think, they're not – the thing is, they're not performing – they're not giving or awarding the people that are performing at the start of the year or the start of the season. They're sticking with, I hate to say the word, but some of the has-beens, and we need to blood them in at some stage. But they should have blood in. Yes, okay, they gave McSweeney a go. That's really good. I still don't believe he was the best choice for that. I think there was a couple other specialised openers that were probably tapping on that door.
Yeah.
And look, away from that, Labus change is not performing as far as I'm concerned. And look, Khawaja, I don't know. I got a question mark over him as well. But look, the other side of that is like Australia's bowling. I think it's time. Like, we've got a few guys there that are bowled, and trust me, they earn the right. They're all got over, I think it's like 300 test wickets each or more.
Yeah.
That I think it's time to let some of these guys like Scotty Bowen, a couple of these other guys, I can't think of their names there now, that are bowling at 150, right?
Yeah.
We need them in there. We need them terrorising. Like the Australian guys didn't look like they terrorised them enough. Like the first innings for both sides, I think the pitch and the conditions had a bit to do with that. It obviously, two teams score low runs. The pitch is ironing itself out, but obviously it become a flat wicket.
Yeah.
Now India might have just, by winning that toss, they might have just got the best period of it. You know what I mean? But,
yeah, for sure.
From my point of view, Australia just wasn't good enough, and it was pretty subpar.
Yeah, I didn't get on it too much, to be honest. I was sort of pretty busy, but yeah, just from hearing little bits and pieces, it wasn't overly exciting.
No.
Very good. Well, what else are we going to touch on here, mate? I reckon we might rip out the mud gudgeon, I reckon.
Well, let's rip out the
mud
gudgeon. We are the mud gudgeon.
We are the mud
for the
gudgeons.
Patreon thing. So.
But tonight's episode, we're just going to hold off a little bit longer. We've got a special guest coming on tonight. It's going to be very exciting, and it's probably good we haven't had a lot to talk about, because it's probably going to be a little bit of an in-depth conversation, I feel. Yeah. So, mate, why don't we hit some mud gudgeons? What do you got there, big fella?
Mate, what have I got? Us. I keep saying us.
We are, that's it. Okay. Well, I got a positive gudgeon. I got two. Yeah. Two positive mud gudgeons. So after we went to Time Zone on the weekend, we rolled around a Brazilian barbecue up there at Cavalier. My young bloke loves it. They come around, they carve the meat off. It's a spectacle. It's pretty cool. So,
hang on, what's this called again?
A Brazilian barbecue.
Oh, no.
So it's like an all-you-can-eat thing. You pay like $65 a head or whatever. You don't pay that for the kids, obviously.
Yeah.
And then they just keep bringing food, and you just keep eating. And when you've had enough, you leave.
And they just
they carve off kangaroo, crocodile, beef rib, like you name it. Yeah, right. Chorizo, it's everything. Anyway, we've rolled up there, and Ollie's like super excited. He's pumped. It's his birthday, and I loved there at the front counter. She was lovely, and my wife said something like, "Oh, yeah, he's very excited. It's his birthday."
Oh, okay.
That's all it was said. It was said. So we've sat down for probably the best part of an hour. Like we've been through, done all the food. They brought out a bit of dessert stuff at the end, and we're literally just about to get up and go. And I can see the two girls, like the waiter ladies, sort of doing something. And next thing you know, they've got him like a cupcake with a candle, singing him happy birthday through the restaurant and brought it over to him. And I thought, how bloody good's that, I just thought that was, I thought that was a bit of a positive mud gudgeon.
Actually, I've thought of one, and somewhat I've got to be discreet about this, but look, I helped a mate out over the weekend doing a bit of cleaning, and went into this one room, and it looks like someone had surgically removed heroin out of someone's bum.
Holy.
And then decided to have a shower in the middle of the room. Like, it was
Wow,
I haven't seen anything like this before, eh?
There's a little bit of a treat for you Spotify listeners.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't normally hear that gruesome, gory stuff
No.
over, but now we don't have Patreon, you get to hear it.
Yeah. Actually, I probably shouldn't have said that, should I?
No, I'm not editing it out, bud. Staying in there. Yeah, wow. Well, that's wild, mates. Well, that wraps up that. I think we're just about, I reckon we're going to get our special guest on the phone, but just before we do, got to hear from our friends over at Daiwa.
Mate, now that I've got this boat here and I've got the electronics on the way, I'm going to need some fishing gear.
Mate, you can't look flash in that new rig without some new fancy fishing gear.
I know.
Mate, I can only recommend one thing. I would head over to the Daiwa Australia website, mate, and make yourself a little bit of a wish list and then head into your local tackle store and see if those legends can get it in. Because if there's one thing I know, mate, Daiwa Australia, they have it all. Whether you want a brand new rod, a nice new shiny reel, or some new line to go on it, then you're going to need some tackle, of course. They have it all. Daiwa Australia is your one-stop shop, and the big supporters here, Two Pelicans Podcast. That's right, Mick. They are big supporters of ours here, and we're going to start dishing out some of those prize packs very shortly.
So when are we going to do that? We're going to do that this week, or are we going to do that next week? We're going to do it on the podcast, or we're just going to do it on our socials?
We'll probably just drop it over on our socials, I feel, mate.
Okay,
we might
cool.
drop that there through the week. But why don't, mate, you kick us off on this week's topic? Let's get this episode cranking.
Righto. So, look, tonight we're going to talk to someone that is pretty influential in the fishing world in Australia. Recently, this fella's, I think, won 4 out of how many Barra ABTs?
6
out of 6, which is phenomenal effort in my, from my point of view. But
very, very good.
very good. But anyhow, he's a bit of a colourful character too, and he's good to have a yarn with. So let's bring on Tim Morgan.
Let's get him on here if our technology works. Old P2 pull his finger out. Yeah. Let's see where we go here. Well, it's ringing. That's positive. It's not real loud though there, Michael. Hey, here he is.
How you going, mate?
Live over here on the Two Pelicans Podcast, the one and only Tim Morgan. Thanks for joining us, mate. You mustn't have anything else to better to do on a Tuesday night. That's all I can say. Mate, look, we just wanted to dive into a bit of a chat today. We just mentioned here before we called you up that you have had possibly one of the most amazing Barra tours.
The Barra Whisperer.
The Barra Whisperer. We'll dive into it a little. We'll break it down throughout this chat. But you basically were part of the team that won 4 out of 6 rounds, mate, this year. That must be pretty unreal.
A good barra fisherman, it's about picking a good teammate. So no, I was pretty lucky, but I love barra fishing, always have. Not the best barra fisherman in the world, but I'd like to think I had a pretty steep learning curve this year, and I'll be a better barra fisherman at the end of it. So
yeah,
mate, talk us through those first couple of rounds before we dive into when Jacob Wheeler come over and fish with you. Talk us through those first couple of rounds. Is it Joseph?
Joe Williams?
Joe
Williams, yeah. So Joe was a mate of Steve's back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I fished down the Clarence with him plenty of times, doing the Jack Adgery run, chasing Easterns and bass and stuff like that. So we've known Joe for probably 3 decades now, and Steve fished a few with him the last few years, and fished last year and this year with him. And he lives about 5 minutes from the ramp up at Tinaroo. Last year it was pretty tough fishing. I think we only got a couple of fish for the week, but this year I think every session we went out we caught fish, and he had a couple of spots that we went and fished and produced the goods for us. So it was a good year up there.
That's unreal, mate. And I guess that's a bit of testament to, local knowledge, isn't it, at the end of the day? Like, he sort of, although you said you done it tough than previous years, like sort of all the
everything aligned.
Stars aligned this year, and just went out and smashed them.
And the good thing it was, we got a half the fish on some of the new Rapala Crush Cities, which we just released a couple of months before and after, and then he had a big chartreuse single tail, and he got a couple on bombers as well. But it was really, really good catching them on. Well, I caught all my fish on the heavy hitters, which we just released. So
yeah,
that's unreal, mate. And I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit here later on. But mate, let's move forward. So you've left Tinaroo, and you've moved down the coast. A couple of months later, it might have been, and Jacob Wheeler has come over and fished with you, mate, alongside you.
Yeah.
Talk us through that. How was that when he hooked his first barra? Like, what was that like from your point of view?
Actually, if we can we just take it back just that further step? Like, how did this all come about?
Great question.
And how did you and Steve as well, get probably arguably one of the best bass anglers in the world over to fish with you?
Well, I dangled the carrot saying, Jacob, you come to Australia, you can fish with Tim Morgan. He was
I was about to say, you flex some muscle.
No. Look, he's Rapala poster boy. He is probably the best bass fisherman in the world. He had a lot to do with the Crush City baits that Rapala released in the US. Like, they were all Jacob Wheeler's signature and everything like that. But, little Aussie Carl Jochimson helped actually line it up. He put us in touch with him, probably gave him the confidence to fly halfway around the world and he'll be looked after. So,
because he competed in that World Bassing as well, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was good. But Carl probably did the introduction, then we got talking and we flew him out here. We thought it would be a great thing for Rapala and Crush City worldwide. And it didn't take him long to suss them out.
Great thing for Australian fishing.
Yeah, I think it was. And the good thing about Jacob, he's just such a he's an unbelievable fisherman. And like I said, I learned so much over the 10 days fishing with him. But just a down-to-earth guy. So he was, made him when we went to Camp Kanga and everyone's in the dongers there. He's sitting down having a beer, giving everyone as much time as they needed to talk to him. And,
nice.
And I think it was and I think he had his cameraman over as well, so filmed the whole lot. And I'm sure, I think mid-December to mid-January, I think there's 4, YouTube episodes coming out. So we'll share that on the Rapala socials when they come out.
Nice.
That's and yet again, like off the back of what Mick just said, mate, that's literally showcasing us to the world, isn't it? Like, that's just on the highest level, one of the best anglers to back it, and he's showing them how good it is. So I'm sure, as a tourism point of view, like, that has to be good.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it'll be unbelievable, and I think we'll get to see more US guys coming over because he's talking about coming back next year. I think just the dates next year might clash a little bit with Thanksgiving for him, which is obviously a big holiday and everything from them over there. But I'm sure we're going to see more and more US guys coming over, and like, I hope that they can, Steve can organise a few local anglers to fish with them, because I tell you what, it was impressive just watching him break a lake down, watching him use the Humminbird Coastmaster charts, because the dams are so well mapped up there, using the live, using the 360. It was school was in.
That's unreal, mate.
That sort of leads into my next question was some of the techniques and things that you learnt off him, and some of the ways that he fished, I guess, for American bass. And I think we spoke about this with your brother, that there was some similarities potentially, but I think I watched an interview that your brother had with yourselves, was that there was some parts of it that were very similar, and it was just a tweak of technique as well. Can you sort of break that down for us?
Well, a lot of the guys over here using live are fishing in perspective mode, or landscape mode, a lot of people call it, which is, it's covering, 160 degrees, looking out in front of the boat. So you've seen Steve do a lot of it with Reddick jerk baits and catching barra, but, that might only be shooting down 6 or 8 foot at the extremities of that, whereas Jacob like using the forward facing. So forward facing it's a very narrow, so you're only covering a very small section of water forward, but because I've got the Ultrex and the transducer on it, he'd just go side to side till he'd see one, work out which way it's going, and his casting was unbelievable. Like, a lot of the time I'd just be sitting back watching, going, well, he needs to cast there, and every cast was exactly where it needed to go, but because a lot of the fish were down 20 foot, so the perspective guys would never even seen those fish.
Yeah. For those people that are not sure what we're talking about, basically the screen that Tim's running is essentially just down scan, but in live. That's essentially what they're seeing. So it's basically what your normal standard would have in down scan, only it's in real time. That's right, isn't it, Tim?
Yep. Let me just get rid of this bloody. I had an alarm going for you guys were going to call me, so I don't know if you can hear it.
I jumped the gun, mate. I rung you early.
Yeah, I'm just getting rid of it now.
You're all right,
No,
mate.
that's all right.
We're good with technical difficulties here at the Two Pelicans.
It's all good. It's gone now. It was ringing in my ear. I don't know if you could hear it.
No, we couldn't hear it.
But, and that's the thing too. So like Carl, Gussie, and Jacob, and like they really stick to their sonars in this sort of fishing mode, aren't they? Like they've got that dialed in than probably what a lot of Australian anglers would you say? Or
Yeah, well, I think it's just in forward mode. They're fishing to fish that the guys in perspective mode weren't even seeing.
Yeah.
So, but then it's seeing it, but then getting the lure on top of the fish is very hard to do. And he was very good. And look, he might have seen 20 fish, put the lure on 20 fish's noses before one would react and bite it. So, that's the old argument. Everyone go, just because you got live, you catch fish. Not true. You get very frustrated and they don't eat. But, even the gear that he was using, he was throwing a freeloader, which they have in the States, a sample bigger one they had, but then he also caught plenty of fish on our 5 and 7 inch jerks, which is a bait that, not many Australians use. Like we all like throwing our paddle tails and big vibrating lures like that, whereas he'd get them down on the nose, sort of shake his rod tip, and we're going to release through our socials in the next week, but we're doing some underwater stuff tomorrow to show when you shake that lure, it sort of rolls almost 90 degrees each way, each side.
Yeah, wow.
And you're just sitting there really finesse shaking it on their nose, and some of them would follow it all the way up to the boat and hit just as, the leader's coming out of the water. So it's it was impressive to watch, but I suppose just giving them something they haven't seen before either.
100%. I think, is that technique, they call it mid-water strolling or something like that? They call it over there?
Shaking the minnow, I think, because that's exactly what he does for the bass over there. That's what
it's kind of what Gussie did at the Classic when we saw him win over there. Sort of that same sort of deal, isn't it? That down...
Sort of that, but I think with the live, they're picking out individual fish and dropping it on their head and shaking it. So that's why I think he's so accurate with it, because that's what he's won hundreds of thousands of dollars just this year doing, sort of thing. So
that's unreal, mate. How was it? We'll jump back to that question. How was it when he hooked into that first barra, mate? Like, what was that like?
We'll get back to that question now.
Yeah. Was it just chaos? Like, was he just like, what the friggin' hell's this?
The first one wasn't too big, so he sort of landed no worries. And then the second one he hooked, he thought he had it, and then the barra said, "No, you don't have it," and went the other way and busted him up, and he was just sitting there. What the hell just happened?
Yeah, large mouth don't do that.
Yeah, so that's right. But then it was the next couple of nights when he started cracking it, and then the first night we had at Teembra, shaking the minnow down deep and we found with Carl a patch of bigger fish, and I think he got 1.16 metre, 1.14 1.10 and a couple of other ones. But that's a fish of a lifetime for many people.
Yeah.
He sussed them out and caught him his fourth night in.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy, isn't it? And I guess this is cool to come back to something I said a couple of episodes ago. I think the day I spoke to you, I was going to get your zombie. You actually went back out fishing and you won that night as well. I actually said on the podcast, I said to Mick, I said, these guys in Australia that say, oh, yeah, we could make it, like we could make it in Australia, in America, we could make it over there. It's simple. You probably can't. Like these guys, it's time on the water, isn't it? Like they literally have come to a country, like Jacob's come over here, never, ever caught this fish, and in 4 days wins two tournaments back to back. Like that's pretty phenomenal, isn't it? Like it's just time on the water, isn't it? These guys know fish. It doesn't matter what they are, they just know fish.
Well, he's a fisherman, and he sees how they react to lures. He changes it up, like there was one there he had a few follow, didn't do it, and he just did it like a really, sharp sudden jerk as it was coming in, and it triggered the fish to bite, and it's rather than doing the same thing, he's always thinking, always breaking it down. Every fish we caught, he hit mark. So I got an extra Coastmaster chart to have up the front while we were fishing as well, and he there was rhyme and reason to everything he did. Nothing wasn't deliberate. Nothing was just, let's just sit here and cast and hope for the best. Every cast was, and we did do a bit of that, like in Kitchen, we probably spent the last 6 hours of the comp on a point and just cast and did a few upgrades there because, with the live scoreboards and that, we were going to go back out living again and looked at it and we were winning and no one was catching, bigger average size fish than we were. So we said, stuff it, let's stay here and stay here and keep casting. So it was,
unreal.
It was good.
That's awesome, mate. Let's dive into him a little bit more. Like, what was his thoughts on the whole tournament sort of scene here? Like, obviously Gussie's been over before a couple of times. He's seen it. Like, what was his take on it? Like how passionate everyone was up there, and I guess the lack of probably bass boats.
Well, it's all to do with electronics and the way they fish forward. You actually, the only way you could do it, like a lot of boats up there have got poles on them. The only way you could do it is if you had someone driving the pole and someone fishing, because on that forward, because you're covering such a narrow slice of water wherever you're pointing the electric, and he's on it the whole time, sort of thing. So like the electronics is really important. But coming back to the I told him it's not sheep stations, and ABT's motto is who shares wins. So I said everyone will be talking about how they're catching them. Everyone's if you're on a point at kitchen, you're cheering the boat next to you when they catch a fish because they're such a cool fish. You want everyone to catch them, and so he there was no pressure, and I think he relaxed once got the first 2 wins. He just relaxed right into it, and I don't have to prove anything because he's a very he's a very competitive person, and you can always see he wants to catch fish. He loves catching fish, and you just see him thinking the whole time. But the good thing was, he's telling everyone how we're doing it. He's sharing the information, talking about the comps back in the States, and the good thing is everyone who wanted to talk to him could talk to him for as long as possible. So he's sort of a down to earth, great guy as well.
That's unreal, mate. That's awesome. It's great to hear, because you always depict people different ways when you watch them, at the highest level sport. That's his job, essentially. And people always come across different. So, it's awesome to hear that he's just that down-to-earth bloke.
I guess what the real Pelicans want to know is what crazy things happened in between comps. What was some of the shenanigans that happened? Because we hear that it's quite a fun tour.
We had a heap of, like, the first half of the tour basically at an Airbnb house with Steve and Nicole and Carl and Gussie, and Tommy and Josh would pop in, Maddie and Chris popped in, but we a lot of fun there. But then the highlight of the whole tour is when everyone's up at Camp Kanga, and you have a lot of fun.
Party night,
dress up,
But there's funny things like Australians, we swear a fair bit. And, if you miss a bite or something, you can drop the old F-bomb, the C-bomb and stuff like that. And we had a situation on the boat where he just missed a fish and he called one of F&C all by himself. And, I did a piece to camera with Mum around him saying, it's not often a dad gets to see his son become a man. He's young Jacob and he's become a man in Australia. He swore at that barrel all by himself.
That's great. That's gold. And because in the States, for the viewers that don't realise, the C word's very sinful. Like the C word's very frowned upon in America, as I found out when we were over there. They just don't like that word. But that's hilarious, mate. That's a cracker.
So and it's all in good fun, and when we women and children around don't say it, but it's you're allowed, because they can be when you're in the boat and they're not biting your bait, or you miss them, or you jump one off. You're allowed to say something to them. But another interesting thing with Jacob, like when we were fishing, he was shaking the minnow and stuff. In Australia, we're using 10x hooks and we're throwing stingers on everything. He was running probably a 3x just jig head, fishing quarter, 3/8, half ounce, up to 3/4 ounce on the 7-inch jerk, but no stingers.
No,
Didn't run
what
a stinger
size jig
the whole
head,
time.
mate? Like a 6.0, 8.0?
Like on the 5 inches, running like 5 and 6.0s. On the 7-inch jerk, 7 or 8.0 were running, sort of thing. But no stingers. A lot of them swallowed it down. A lot of them were corner hooked in the mouth. But I think because the jig heads are a lot lighter, a lot of the ones he caught them on, because you get that one good hook set in it, they're not jumping. Like, I think he only jumped 2 off the whole week.
There's not much leverage when they're throwing it, is there? There's a lot less leverage.
not a lot of weight there. So, and also with leader lengths, he'd probably only start with 20 centimetre leader. And I think that helped with sinking it down and getting it to the fish. But then retying once you couldn't tie another loop knot in it. So it might have only been, 5 inches long and then retying sort of thing. So
that's interesting. And I noticed in a couple of the videos, I think his cameraman might have put out a few little snippets. And it looked like he was using quite light spinning tackle. Was that correct?
Yeah, it would have been. They were like 4,000 size, 3 to 4,000 size reels, 30 pound 832 braid on it, and just with a 50 pound mono leader.
Yep.
So I don't think he got chewed off the whole week either. So
that's unreal, mate. That's awesome, mate. I've got a question here. In regards to the team of the year, I had someone sort of mention this to me, and I sort of had a bit of a think about it. Obviously, you were a part of the team that won 4 out of 6. How does that work with the team of the year standings? Like, do you get to count your 4 wins because you were in the team, or how does that work, mate?
No, it's you got to fish with the same person. And I went back and appealed to ABT because I fished with Joe Williams and then Jacob Wheeler. If I put fishing with JW, would that pass? And they said no.
Oh, what a bastard. He must be a real mongrel, that fella.
Yeah, I think I was adopted. But
Two good ones and a bad one, mate.
Actually, I've just it's dropped my mind, but your other brother's in Yamba, isn't he?
Yep.
What's his name again?
Is it Matthew?
Luke.
That's it, Luke. I actually had a beer with him probably about 4 weeks ago, but he's right into his mining or panning for gold, not so much fishing.
Well, he's going down to where Steve and I grew up bass and cod fishing down on the Clarence. He's sniping gold down there.
Yes.
So our gold has fins. His gold is
actually
like
gold.
Soft rock. That's pretty.
Oh, that's awesome, mate. I guess we'll start to wrap things up here in a little minute. But as a whole, do you think everyone at the Barra Tour was pretty blown away? I know they've all seen Gussie and Carl obviously before, but were they pretty blown away by Jacob's ability? Because, as I said, you see him on TV.
His ability, but how approachable he is. And, you look at all the guys who fished the tour and talked about it. Like, not only was it a great tour, because everyone caught fish, which was great. There was I think in the 4 events through the ABT app, there was over 1,000 fish caught. So on top of being just probably one of the best Barra seasons they had, just have it in there and people doing the wrap up. Every one of them said how good it was to have Carl, Gussie, and Jacob there, and how approachable they were, and it really made the tour. So hopefully, there's a flood of 10 of them who want to come in, because most of the guys who fish the tour both have boats. They fish as a team, but they've got 2 boats. So it'd be good to split a few of them up, put an American with each one, because I would have paid money to fish with Jacob, having done it now, just go how much I've learnt and watched him. And, I've fished pretty hard my whole life, and it just showed me how little I knew, or just to think about every little thing. Every time you catch a fish, it's not luck. It's not, there's a reason behind it. So if you can work out that reason and recreate what you were doing, or it could have been on the inside of a point with deep water near it, whatever it is, you could recreate that, you'll catch more fish.
I think I'd be like, if you ever got paired with him, be like, there's my keys, just do what you need to do, and I'll just sit in the back and
I'm going to sit down here with my notepad and take notes.
and Steve got him with the old, Jacob, how about a signature? And he goes, yeah, no worries. And then he goes, who should I make it out to? Dear Jacob? It's like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, good on him. I guess with that in mind, say in a couple of years' time we have another 10 internationals come out, the Barra field, everyone here gets keen, it blows out to say 70 boats, which it quite possibly could, quite easily. Do you think there's room in maybe some rivers to run some of these events up north, those bigger systems that possibly, you could do like that 80 or 100k run and cover some ground? Do you think that could be an opportunity down the track?
I think it'd be hard, but the dams are good, and I know that they capped it at, we only had 36 or something this year. We had 46 last year.
Yeah.
But at Faust, getting in there and out, with 50 boats there, it's a couple of hour process because it's a long single lane ramp. So when you're pulling out at 2 a.m, you're a bit over it and just want to go to bed. As far as rivers go, I think it's I like the nighttime fishing, especially the time of year. It's so hot that, you get a couple of hours in the afternoon and then you fish in the night, and it was just I don't think I've grabbed a jumper any night while we're up there. So, I think that the dams, it's safe, it's easy, it's you don't have to worry about crocodiles or anything
that's
like
a good
that.
Point,
It's probably a lot more tournament friendly having it in the lakes, I think.
Yeah, because alligators are like little puppy dogs compared to saltwater crocodiles, so we couldn't have the Yanks coming over here going, "Oh, it's all alligator," or just a little pat.
and bass boats, they just got like a little ramp up there for them to come and eat you off the back of your boat.
Yeah, we might stick to the dams. Yeah, I'm hearing you, mate. Before we leave you,
I just quashed your dreams then.
Yeah. I was thinking I was going to hit Steve with a great proposal there.
And imagine losing by 10 grams in a barra comp, Joe.
I could say the crocodile bit his fin off or something. At least I'd have an excuse.
It still never gets old. Do you know how many times people bring that up on this podcast, Tim?
Like every week, Timothy.
It's like just kicking you straight in the nuts, isn't it? It's awesome.
It's a gift that just keeps on giving. Before we leave, mate, I think we want to dive into a bit about
I think, while I got you on the phone, we'd like to just hear about, I guess your story with Rapala. Like, obviously, you've been in the fishing/boating industry. You were obviously with BLA for a number of years, and now you're with Rapala. But I'd like to sort of just hear the story behind the idea of the concept of the Crush City, and you mentioned that also America done their own release, and how that come about. Was there much engagement between the two countries, and how did you get yourselves to that point?
No, well, it was, we were in a position where we could buy some data off some of the big box stores and stuff, and like we go really well with hard body lures, but we weren't selling any plastics, and it was a bigger category than the hard bodies. So I think it would have been about 5 years ago now. I did a proposal to my boss overseas and said, we need to look at this. And then, there was a year or two of toing and froing and getting all the countries in the world involved and stuff. And we thought, if we're going to do it and do it under Rapala, we've got to do it right. Yeah. So it was a deliberate decision to release Crush City all in the same year. We've got 3 different ranges. The US have got their range, Australia's got our APAC range, and then Europe had their own range as well. Okay. So we did a big marketing blitz for the after ICAST, then FTEX, the European show, all releasing Crush City, but region specific. Like a lot of the US ones in the first year were PVC baits, where in Australia, TPE is crucial for us. Yep. And we're really lucky with a vendor that we're working with. He's a fisherman. We've had him out in Australia fishing as well. He's unbelievable. He's so quick. He if we got a change in design, we'd have it the next day, sort of thing, and then samples within a couple of weeks. And it was a 2-year process from when we started to when we released them. But I think with what we did, we've got a pretty unique material. We've got some pretty unique designs. So for us to succeed, we had to release. I think you've got to get your market share, and you've got to release. So, the biggest selling plastic in Australia was a 2.5-inch single tail grub. So I think with the Creeper we came out, with the added legs and stuff on it, it was a unique. You couldn't go anywhere in the world and buy that. That was 100% unique design. The Imposter, the prawn. We sold tens of thousands of those, and they're a unique design. Even the heavy hitters, the body roll. We swam every plastic in Australia, and I can hand on heart say that the body roll on that 4-inch heavy hitter when we released it, compared to any other plastic on the market, had a lot more body roll and aggressive action. So I think guys like Mick Horn, Matt, Mitchie at work, we've got a lot of guys who fish a lot, and the whole process, the catch cry we had was no compromise. So if we weren't happy with something, let's change it until we are. And I think you can see in the products we release, we're very proud of them. They all catch fish, and we've got plans for the next 2 years on what we're releasing. So I think,
I guess the thing is, this might be a bit of tongue in cheek comment. Was it your idea for the Crush City, or were the Yanks actually had that idea? Like, the name and all that.
The name is 100% US driven.
Yep.
So I actually, because we'd been working on it for a year before we even had the name, and like because we had salt in a lot of ours, we were thinking assault plastics, like ASSALT, and like a salt in it, and that we had our heart set on that, and then I got an email from our APAC PD guy saying, "Oh, this is what the range is going to be called." It was Crush City, and I'm just like, I don't like it. I didn't tell the guys. I slept on it for the night. And then the next day I woke up and they had a thing, it's a destination in the mind. They had a bit of a mantra with it and everything. And I woke up the next day and I thought, I actually don't mind it. Yeah. And then I told the guys the next day and they had the exact same first impression as me. But now I couldn't imagine being called anything else. Like within a couple of weeks, we're going, actually, we really like this name.
Yeah, so it just suited it. Yeah,
and I think like the marketing, like Joe and I, when we were up at AFTA, it was a comment that we just sort of said that like your stand was quite well set up. I think the colour, the branding, and all that really sticks out as well. And obviously, you want a unique lure, and I think you guys did definitely achieve that. But what's it like working with Horn Dog?
Mate, he's a champion. He was in the printing industry. I've known Mick for over 20 years.
Yep.
We used to fish go head to head in the Bream comps years and years ago, and I think it all the timing just worked out well. He started with us probably 2 months before we started the Crush City project, so he was there from pretty much day dot with us. I rang him up. I had a chat to him. He was ready for a change, and we were looking for a brand manager / content creator, which I think he's really relatable. He's really approachable for everyone. So people always want to come up and talk to him, and him and Mel live and breathe fishing. It's not if they go fishing on the weekend, it's where they're going to go fishing. So. And because he does so much from going out chasing Murray cod, bass fishing, outside chasing tuna, loves his barra fishing, loves his broom fishing, he's got such a diverse set of skills that, he's been a huge asset to the Rapala team. And when we talk, we kept it pretty, like a lot of other brands have got 15 colours. We've kept it to 8 colours because we think we can confidently cover pretty much most fishing situations with 8 colours. So having a compact range, it's easy for shops to display them. It's not confusing for customers, and I think we got the balance right.
100%, mate. And that comes back to the whole thing we were talking about before. R&D. Like I know myself with my own company. Like it could take you 2 years to get something right, but in that process, you go and buy all the different ones on the market available and you swim them, and you're not swimming them to copy their lures, you're swimming them to see how you can make yours better. And then you match that up with someone, say, like Mick, and even like myself, we fish for everything. Like, if it's going to work, and that's key in a business, mate. You've really got that there. You got a good spread across the board. You got one sort of dodgy rep that thinks he knows how to catch flooded every now and then. Knows a thing or two about
the more rods you got out the back, the more you catch.
Yeah. The more VB tins as a daisy chain, I heard.
You control 2 rods, drink a beer, and drive a boat. It's just it makes sense. Tim, he says
there's not many people that can do that, but old Otis can.
Yeah. But look, it's a credit to you guys. Even with the Fat Jacks, the Jack Deeps, I've used them a lot. I had a lot of success on them. I haven't used all the Crush Cities, but what I would say is that that Imposter, I've had some really good success on that, especially in that flathead space. Like just working them over and drop off of flats is just unbelievable.
And that's probably been the biggest, pleasure for our team is that, it was a pretty saturated market, that plastic market, and to release a range that we have had such good success as we've had with it has been something that the whole team can hang their hat on. We punch pretty hard in Rapala worldwide for the amount of Crush Cities we're selling, considering we're only 27 million population, And for us as well, it's really good. So the US are going to release a few of our shapes next year. Canada released the jerks when we released them, and that was their number one selling bait in Canada, was one of little old Australia's baits. So it's been it's been a really good project for the whole team.
Mate, just before we let you go, how does that work? Like, do you guys get kickbacks on that because that's going global, or is that just all gums just absorbs back?
No, it goes in the rest of the world price list, and for all the Rapala guys to do and buy. But for us, it's getting the money back on molds and everything, because this was all. Every shape that's been done has been from the ground up, so you can't go anywhere else and buy any of them, which I think is, there's a lot of stuff that comes out these days that they just go to a Me Too vendor and put their name on it, and away they go, where, we can hand on heart say everything's us, and no one, unless they just go and flop it and copy it.
Yes,
but our vendor only makes these ones for us. We've paid for the molds, and away we go.
That's awesome, mate. That's unreal, mate. Well, we might leave it there, and I'm sure that we'll have you back on the future at some point. Probably when you win next year, maybe with Lee Livesey or someone different next year. I don't know. But, mate, look, I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your night and, for joining us and all the other Pelicans out there.
Nah, all good, brothers.
Thanks, mate. We'll catch you
next time. Good on you,
time.
Tim. Talk to you soon.
All right, catch you, boys.
See you, mate. Bye. Well, mate, that was an unbelievable chat there. I'll apologise to our viewers. They probably missed about the first 30 seconds of that because old P2 had the volume down. But that's all right. That's all right. Tim only called us a pack of peanuts, so that's all right. They didn't miss too much there, mate. But
it was a good insight, wasn't it? Like, just once again, like listening about, I guess, Jake and Wheeler, just doing them little things like a foot of leader.
Oh, like but then down to, like, he said it basically is small enough he couldn't tie a loop knot in it. That's like, you tell a bloke here in Australia you can catch a fish on straight braid, that'd just blow their mind.
Yeah,
that's unreal. But what else you got there, mate? For us, you got anything there for us,
mate? No, I think that's really about it for us. I don't think I've got too much more. You got some motivational pick me up?
It's not motivation. It's just a little funny one I found the other night, and any parent out there is going to relate to this. It is a bit of a visual one, but if you listen along, you'll get the gist of this. And I'll give a quick little backstory on it. It's a mum, and she's putting a young fella to bed, all right? And she's just about to leave the room out of the bed. So this is I saw this through the week.
You can relate to this.
I can relate to this. Here we go.
Good night, sweetie. Good night, Bob. I love you. See you in the morning. Actually, you won't see me anymore. You'll see me in the middle of the night, too. Because I will.
Oh, I bloody wet myself when I heard that. So if you didn't hear that, the mum said, I'll see you in the morning. And the little fellow says, well, no, actually you won't. You'll see me in the middle of the night as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty relatable, that one. But no, mate, that's about all I've got this week. Yet again, shout out to the Wobbly.
I'm having a hazy XPA tonight. It's not too bad.
I've had an On Point Pale Ale tonight. A full strength, not a bad beer, a clocking great beer. But better still, you Pelicans. Look, we're just about around the corner of the silly season. The silly season is about to commence. It's going to commence at my house in a big way very shortly. And let me tell you, I am going down next week, and I'm going down to the Wobbly Chook, and I'm going to stock up on some ginger beers. Their ginger beer, honestly, hand on heart, I can say is probably one of the nicest ginger beers I've had. Huge alcoholic ginger beer fan. Absolutely love it. What I do like about it is a mid.
Yep.
I really love that. So you can still have a couple. You can still confidently get in the car and drive if you need to. So big fan of that, especially around the silly season. You might be stopping in at your mates, having a couple of cans.
That's it.
So pop down to the Wobbly Chook in Yamba. Grab yourself some 4-packs. They come in 4-packs or a carton of 16, I think.
Or better yet, stop in and get one out of the glass and have a feed.
100%. Exactly.
Yeah.
Grab a schooner and let the weapons know there that you heard about us from here.
Yep.
Let the weapons know that the Pelicans sent you. And if you do go online, check out their website. Just punch in the wobblychook.com. I'm assuming that'll probably come up. We'll go with that. And if you do make a purchase leading up to Christmas, just leave a little comment in there. The Pelicans sent you, because you just never know.
You never know. Look, this is probably another time. We've probably been a bit slack and we haven't promoted it. But, we'd like to see some yarn start coming in again.
I was going to touch that, mate. The yarns have been a bit slack.
Yeah. So the Pelicans, you guys, have been a little bit slack lately. We would like to hear some fishing stories. Now we're coming into the silly season.
Yeah.
there'll be people getting their boats on the water, and there'll be some good things happening and some not so good things happening.
And as well, like now with this new sort of format moving forward without Patreon, and we're sort of keeping things pretty PG rated here on the Pelicans because we're here for the whole family. It doesn't have to be a fuck up or anything. It can be just a yarn. You know, you're down the jetty and you saw an old fella feeding some kids bread to catch brim on. Like, it could be anything, it could be absolutely anything. Like, ring us up and tell us your yarn. Email that through to the Two Pelicans Podcast at gmail.com, or better still, if you don't know how to do your voice recorder thing, video yourself. I'll cut you out. We'll just hear your
Write
audio.
us a story, do anything, any form of communication.
We can read it out. We can read it out.
We can do, what's that tapping shit?
Hey?
Yeah, Morse code.
Oh, Morse code. We can send.
No, I can't do Morse code. Sorry.
Anyway, get in touch with us, you Pelicans, and we'll sort you out. And just remember, coming into the silly season, stay safe. Have a cracking time with your family, and you're going to be hearing from us.
Actually, let's just bring this up.
Oh.
Make sure you check your life jackets. Make sure they're compliant. Make sure your boat's compliant. Make sure you got a fishing license and a boating license.
We might even run through an episode before Christmas, I think.
We might have to, because I'll tell you what, I was there the other day in my little first run of the boat, and I thought, geez, shit, I've got to get this, I've got to get that.
Yeah.
Just little things that you don't think about that you need.
Let me tell you, I've probably got an hour of yarns off the back of that.
Righto.
So I'm sure I could fill up an episode.
We'll fill an episode of that there at some stage.
Yeah, things just to check on, things that you might, like, check your fire extinguisher, because trust me, it'll save you from wanting to punch the red-headed maritime bloke in the face. Trust me. So I think we'll leave that one there. You've been listening to another episode of the Two Pelicans Podcast. Thank you yet again for tuning in each and every week. I'm Joey.
I'm Mick, and we are the Two Pelicans.
We'll catch us next week.
Ciao.